Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shelley Kraft. We're coming to you live on SNN Live. We're at the Cambridge House Resource Conference 2012, and we are here in Vancouver, BC. I have Lawrence Roulston, a very familiar face to people in the resource world. His newsletter, Resource Opportunities. He's a very, very well-known featured speaker, particularly at Cambridge House, I might add. And ladies and gentlemen, his newsletter is definitely worth reading. Lawrence, I want to welcome you to SNN Live.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind words.
Well, they're true, so I can't get in trouble for that. My question to you is, what's going on in the world today?
Well, there's a lot of fear going on everywhere. I mean, people are so caught up in the doom and the gloom and the possibility of what might go wrong that, all this doom and gloom is effectively factored into the share prices right now, especially in the risk categories. The junior resource stocks are all priced as if the euro is going to fail and as if China's going to have a hard landing. And I don't think either one of those things is going to come to pass. Let's talk about the euro for a moment. The Germans and French, everybody else over there, they don't want the euro to fail. They'll do whatever it takes. And what it's going to take is to pump massive amounts of new liquidity into the system. They've started doing that. The European Central Bank is already pumping money into the banking sector. And they're going to keep pumping money. The euro is going to keep muddling along. But the net result over time is all that new money that's being pumped out there is going to be enormously, inflationary or depress the value of the euro. And the other big item is China. People are terrified of a hard landing in China. Over the last couple of years, since the global financial crisis, China has been the driving force in the world economy. It still is. And the headlines are screaming out that China is slowing down. But let's put this in a perspective. That slowdown is from 9.6% to just slightly under 9%. The consensus forecasts this year are, 8 or 8.5%, which is a phenomenal level of growth for the second biggest economy in the world. Ever since I've started following China 7 or 8 years ago, I've been reading about, a crash and a balloon bursting and a hard landing, and the whole thing is a big fraud, and it just isn't true. I mean, this country is solid. Not very many people realize now that the biggest driving force in the Chinese economy is not exports, but it's internal consumption. The sum of infrastructure spending and investment and consumer spending is now far more important than exports. So even if with the slowdown in Europe, it's not going to slow down to the extent that people are afraid it will.
I had an experience. Someone was speaking at one of these conferences, and the first thing he said to his audience was, "So, is everybody ready to slit their wrists?" What?
I have been in the newsletter business now for going on 13 years. I've been to these conferences regularly for 13 years. And at every one of the conferences that I've ever attended, there's at least one speaker who talks about that. 10, 12 years ago, people were talking about when gold was $200, $300 an ounce and the Dow was way up there. They were talking about the gold price was going to pass the Dow, and the Dow was going to crash. And this doom and gloom stuff has been going around forever. And right now it's more prevalent. It's priced into the equities, and it just isn't going to happen. Back to China for a moment. The Chinese government has over $3 trillion of reserves. They're not facing massive debts. They're sitting on a $3 trillion reserve. If they need to stimulate the economy to keep it pumped up and moving along, they will do it. They did it in 2008. It was extremely effective. The economy of China kept bubbling along at a fast pace when the rest of the world, went into recession in 2008, 2009, and they're right there ready to do the same again this year.
Now, I have to announce that I agree with everything you say, and I don't always, and I'm not bullish all the time, but right now my sentiment is I am bullish, but it's not about me. What's your opinion? And what do you think, by the way, about the gold standard?
Well, okay, first of all, let's bring this back, I'm not saying that there are no problems in the world. There are enormous problems in the world. All I'm saying is that the problems are not of a magnitude that we're going to face a complete financial collapse of the world system, as some people are predicting. We're going to muddle along. And if we muddle along, look, my sector is the resource industry, and metals in particular. I'm looking at the outlook for metals, and I'm seeing the world is using a lot of metal. The copper price is up substantially over the last few weeks as the U.S. economy is recovering, as people are realizing that China is not going to collapse. Gold price is up fivefold over the last 10 years. Silver price is up fivefold over the last decade. And the copper price is also up fivefold over the past decade. There's a message behind these. If we step back and look at the longer term picture, we don't bet on where the metal price is going to be next week, because I think that's a fool's game, but we look at the longer term picture, which is the world is using metals, will continue to use metals, and that means we need to develop new mines. And those new mines are going to come from deposits that are in the hands of juniors. And therefore the game is looking at the juniors that have high quality metal deposits that will be taken over by larger companies.
Ladies and gentlemen, the expert opinion of Lawrence Roulston. Now, what website would you like to send out viewers?
resourceopportunities.com.
And that's where your newsletter can be found?
Yes, but clarify that it is entirely a subscriber-supported newsletter. My business model is entirely on working for my paid subscribers. All the company picks are through the newsletter to the paid subscribers. But if anybody wants information on the newsletter or on my general market outlook, it is available on the free part of the website.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lawrence Roulston, Resource Opportunities, featured speaker at Cambridge and at this conference, and now another featured speaker on SNN Live. Thanks for coming on to SNN Live. My pleasure to have you.